I've always believed in spirituality. The funny thing is, if I'm going to be completely honest, when I started my vegan journey, it was purely for selfish reasons. And, I always considered myself an animal lover, but I remember when my wife and I met, I told her I was an animal lover, and she's like, "Oh, you're vegan?" And I'm like, "Oh, no." And she's like, "Oh, so you're a pet lover?" And I'm like, "Damn, she got me." Like, how am I supposed to respond to that?
Episode number 97. And today we have with us a vegan athlete, YouTuber, and fitness coach. He has a purple belt in Brazilian Jujitsu and dedicates himself to helping others on their own fitness journeys as well. It is Will Brooks.
Yes. Thanks for having me, guys. Happy to be here.
Awesome. No, we appreciate you being here because I know you have a lot of good information to give these people, and hopefully they take something away from this. Yes. So I guess jumping right in. Yeah, so we're just going to jump right into the first question, and it is, what made you start this vegan journey?
See, my journey's pretty unique. When I met my girlfriend, who's now my wife, Marky, she was vegan and I was not. And she basically sprinkled in bits of influence here and there. She was never really forceful with it. Mm-hmm. And she started showing me vegan athletes because I've always loved to lift weights and play sports, so that's always been important to me. And to be honest, I never even really liked meat growing up. I just ate it because that's what was given to me. So I had told her, I don't really care where my food comes from as long as I can get enough protein. Yeah. So she started showing me vegan athletes, and then coincidentally I was dealing with a lot of elbow and joint pain from some tendonitis. And that had been plaguing me for years. And it turns out, at that point in time, I found out that veganism is great for inflammation. Mm-hmm. So that was just another reason to kind of switch over at that point. And then I injured myself pretty badly in the gym and needed spine surgery. I blew out the disc between C5 and C6 in my neck. So if you're not familiar with that kind of operation, it's pretty medieval. They cut you open in the front of your neck. They scoop your esophagus and your trachea to the side, and they fuse your spine through the front. So I had to obviously sit still for 3 months while the fusion sets. And in that 3 months, I lost all progress that I had built my entire life in the gym. I ended up developing a gut. I lost all my muscle mass. And after that point, I said, you know what? Once the doctor cleared me to work out again, I was like, I'm going to try it. And it took me a couple times, but eventually I did it. And I mean, the guy you see today was completely rebuilt from the ground up from plants. So it's pretty cool.
Wow. No.
So to answer your question, it would be my wife was the main influence for sprinkling in, bits of information here and there. And eventually it just stuck.
Right. No, wow. That's, extremely very unique story on how it converted you into becoming vegan. So I'm wondering, like, your mindset post-operation, having to rest up for 3 months, like, do you think this unintentional rest period changed not only like your physical body, but was it something deeper? Do you feel like something in a spiritual sense of things?
Well, I've always believed in spirituality. The funny thing is, if I'm going to be completely honest, when I started my vegan journey, it was purely for selfish reasons. And, I always considered myself an animal lover, but I remember when my wife and I met, I told her I was an animal lover, and she's like, "Oh, you're vegan?" And I'm like, "Oh, no." And she's like, "Oh, so you're a pet lover?" And I'm like, "Damn, she got me." Like, how am I supposed to respond to that? So during that time, when I initially made the decision, it was for health reasons. But if I'm going to touch on maybe a higher level of knowing, I guess, throughout, as time went on, I grew closer to the ethical and environmental side of it and learned along the way. Because in the beginning, my wife, she would show me videos of like animal agriculture and the way animals are slaughtered. And ever since I was a little kid, I've never liked gore, whether that's human gore, animal gore. And the way I would deal with it was I would just wince and look away. Well, eventually, I think maybe there was a turning point in that healing process because I stopped. I forced myself to watch these kinds of videos. And that's when things started clicking, and I started to grow closer to the ethical side and the environmental side. So I like to be honest about that, because I want people to know I'm not trying to score extra points by saying I went vegan for the animals right away. If I'm going to be completely honest, that was my journey. It was for selfish reasons, but I learned along the way, and I think that's beautiful. I kept an open mind, grew close to it, and now it's something that's really important to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I 100% agree, because that's the beauty of a journey in itself, that you didn't just go straight for the ethical reason, that was nurtured and brought out because you wanted it to. Like you said, at first you were kind of like looking away, kind of wanted to ignore it. After a while, you know, you're like, no, I need to sit through this and see what's actually going on behind the scenes. And that's something that, you know, we try to share with our message as well, is to become aware of things, at least, you know, like look behind the scenes and see, basically question your surroundings, question what you've been taught, because this whole process with veganism specifically is a process of like learning, unlearning, and then relearning a lot of the values that we've been taught and things like that. So, and that, I guess that leads me on to my next question about, I remember in one of your videos, you mentioned something about being a bro and how veganism and that going together is just such an odd mix. Do you ever get like any weird reactions from any people around you or stuff, like when they find out that you're vegan?
Yeah, all the time. So people, I don't know, I guess because of my appearance, I get judged a lot right out of the gate. And I think that's human nature. I don't hold any ill will about that, but I've got a lot of tattoos, backwards hat, gym clothes all the time, cauliflower ear. Yeah, people just assume that I'm like a meathead bro. And then when they find out I'm vegan, they're like, are you kidding me? I would never would have guessed. And actually, it's a cool segue into being able to talk about it, because I'm not one, I don't like to force that conversation. I just won't bring it up to people, but my appearance is almost like bait. You know, people want to talk to me about what I eat and what I'm doing in the gym. And that's so easy to just be like, yeah, I don't eat meat at all. And they're like, are you kidding me? I'm like, I don't eat any dairy. I don't have honey. I don't have meat. I don't do any animal products. And they're like, and it just leads down this rabbit hole of questions, which is awesome. It's exactly what I want.
Yeah, no, and I feel like that right there is awesome too, because you have people that the first thing they present themselves as is vegan, whereas like you said, it's kind of like bait. It's like they see the image first, they see what you're portraying, and then it kind of just hooks them in. Now they're interested. Now they keep going, you know? So
no, I feel like that also takes the pressure away of speaking about veganism, because they're the ones asking you the question. So you're able to, you know, let them know without them feeling like, oh, why is he pressuring me? And I think that's so amazing, especially, you know, the fact that it is breaking stereotypes.
Yeah, it is.
It is. And a lot of it is, you know, it's just, I think it's based on social intelligence. I think that a lot of vegans are so passionate, as I am and as you guys are too, but they get so wound up in the passion that they end up almost seeming forceful when they want to kind of portray and educate on the process. And for me, I try to practice social intelligence kind of the way you would in sales. You know, I don't want to force this down your throat, because I don't want you to be turned off by it. I want to leave you feeling inquisitive and wanting more. And then I'm going to give you more. And it's kind of like, here's that push pull. Like, I want more. I know I can go to Will and he's going to give it to me. And it's just, eventually I get buddies trying it. They're like, hey dude, I tried this lentil soup with no meat. And it's just like, I get that all the time. And I'm like, that's exactly what I want. I'm so proud of you. Good job. You know? So it's kind of like, my mom had this saying growing up, you get more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. Not an extremely vegan statement, but it's right. If you're nicer, I think you pull more attention. So that's basically what I try to do.
No, yeah, that makes sense. And especially with like some of the stereotypes out there, you know, when they hear about veganism, they probably usually have like already like a bad impression in mind. So, you know, with the way you speak or your actions or the things that you do, they're like, oh, wow. So I guess, you know, not all vegans are bad, or, you know, maybe I can actually give this a try. And it kind of just keeps spreading that message of positivity to other people. And that's what we all love.
Yeah, no, really. And I feel like one thing you mentioned when you were transitioning to vegan in one of your YouTube videos is gaining the sense of empathy. So could you elaborate on that a little bit? Like, what did this getting sense of empathy do for you, not only in the vegan side of things, but your whole entire life?
Yeah. So, you know, for the longest time, I didn't even realize I was capable of empathy, and I didn't even really know what it was. But the sign that was there was when I had to turn away when I see videos of other beings being hurt or killed. That's a sign that it's there. And, you know, as I became vegan and as I became to open up my mind and my heart to more of the ethical side, I began to develop that empathetic side where I began to put myself in the animal situation. I'd be like, that would be horrible. Like, can you imagine living your life like that? And as I started to become open to that perception, it kind of became 360. Like, I started being more empathetic towards people. You know, like if I'd pass a homeless person on the road, like I try to picture like, God, you know, this is terrible. Even if they put themselves in the situation, it sucks right now and I feel bad. So not only did I learn to become empathetic towards animals and towards people and to people's situations, it's allowed me to be a little easier on myself, because I've always been a hard judgment on myself. And to be honest, like going vegan, I mean, not just for my health and the animals around me, but it's changed me and matured me in so many different ways. Empathy being probably the leading factor. And I couldn't be happier about it. Now that I know that I'm empathetic and I'm aware of it, it's like next level.
And I guess, like, what are some of the most common questions that you get? Like when people first find out that you're vegan, like what are some of the most common questions?
Oh, you know, it's going to be, where do you get your protein?
Yeah.
What else? Isn't it expensive to be vegan? What else? Is vegan junk food healthy? Stuff like that.
Yeah,
you know,
that makes sense. And when bringing, I guess, veganism into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu itself, like what changes have you noticed in that physical aspect into bringing veganism to that sport?
Yeah, it's crazy. So my stamina went through the roof. I remember when I was training and I was eating meat, I could roll probably, 3 hard rounds. And after that, I'd be gassed and I'd be like, okay, I need a break. The other day I rolled, it was like for an hour straight. It was 6-minute matches with 60 seconds in between to switch partners for an hour. And I was good. Like, there's another vegan guy at my school. He's actually a belt ahead of me. He's actually about to become a black belt. Awesome. And his stamina also is out of control. So it's funny because we'll be the two vegans in there. We'll go for an hour. And by the end, we're looking at each other because everyone else is laying out on the mat like dead. We're like, hey, you want to get one more in before we leave? We're like, yeah, let's go. Come on. So the stamina's through the roof. Because the stamina's through the roof, we can train harder. I can learn more. I can keep going. And obviously my recovery rate is a lot better. Back in the day when I was dealing with the tendonitis that I mentioned earlier in my elbows and shoulders, that was really hard to deal with, especially because I like to weight lift. And it got to a point where I had to consider, maybe I have to give up jujitsu or weightlifting because my body can't handle this, when I was eating meat. And when I transitioned to vegan, once those results start coming, you could tell. And now I don't have any joint pain, and I've got metal in my spine and my neck. And I'm a jujitsu practitioner, so my neck is getting twisted, choked, cranked, and I don't have any kind of joint pain, any kind of tendonitis at all. So that's been huge too.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Wow. That just shows, even in the gym, you can tell, veganism is, standing out for a reason, endurance wise. And that leads me to wonder, what got you into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to even begin with?
So I love that question, just because I wrestled for a long time since I was 14. My dad was a wrestler. My mom has 6 brothers. My 6 uncles were all state champ wrestlers out in Montana. I've got grappler blood.
Yeah.
And when I completed my last year of wrestling in high school, I kind of felt like, man, is this it? This is what I'm passionate about. What am I going to do now? And I did some open tournaments, in wrestling afterwards, but I missed that team element. I missed going to practice. I missed having the buddies that you get to beat up with and then joke with afterwards. And I found jiu-jitsu. My brother actually started before me. Well, let me take that back. We actually started at the same time, but that was a weird point in my life when we both did that. And I was basically just concerned with partying and chasing girls. So I wouldn't say I started. I went to a few classes and kind of fell off, but my brother started. He's like, you got to come back. And I did. And I've just been hooked ever since.
That's amazing. And how would you say like the sense of community is around there, especially with you being vegan? Has it caused like any interesting topics between you and the community?
Yeah, so for the most part, everybody's really accepting and inquisitive, really. I mean, being that the guy who I mentioned earlier, his name's Jose, one of the maybe the toughest guy at our school. I don't know. He's incredible. Don't tell him I said that though. He'll go to his head. But he's vegan, I'm vegan, and people see how we perform, and they're all really cool about it. You know, we all bust balls a little bit. And there's jokes here and there, but I know there's no ill will behind it because I've had, you know, being on Instagram now, I know when someone's trying to be hurtful with vegan jokes. You know, you can kind of tell. Yeah. But for the most part, the community in jiu-jitsu is really open to it. And in fact, I think the Gracies, they aren't vegan, but a lot of them are primarily plant-based. So I don't think they go 100% vegan, but I know they're predominantly plant-based. So I think it's been acceptable for a long time, to be honest.
And for those that don't know, by the way, could you let them know who the Gracies are in jiu-jitsu?
Oh, they're like the godfathers of jiu-jitsu. They're Helio Gracie took jiu-jitsu he took Japanese jiu-jitsu back to Brazil and made it Brazilian Jujitsu. And they've got a long lineage of jiu-jitsu fighters. And actually, I'm a second-degree purple belt under Helsing Gracie, who is, I think he's like getting close to 70, and he's a grandmaster, and he still rolls around like a spider monkey. He's crazy.
Wow. That's insane. Yeah. No, for me, I recently, and like I literally just started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu about 2 weeks ago. So for people like me that are just starting out, what are some of the tips that you have for us? Some advice. That's good.
Okay, yeah, this is great. So the biggest thing is everyone wants to know what's the best way to get better. There is no magic pill. You just have to keep going. And the journey of a white belt is hard because for the first few months, you're just going to be getting beat. You know, you're going to be getting tapped out a lot, and that's normal. That's good. And actually, in your white belt journey, that's when you develop your defense, your defensive game. So the lessons you're learning right now, although they're difficult and they may be humbling, it's going to set you up the way you're going to handle your defensive game growing older as a blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt. So it may suck right now. You may get beat up a lot, but it's laying the groundwork for how you're going to be later on. I would say that as a goal, when you go to class, especially if you start sparring, maybe, you know, next week, have you sparred yet?
Yeah. We've already started rolling and stuff like that. So.
Okay. So maybe your goal is I'm only going to get tapped out. Maybe I tapped out 10 times last week. This time when I roll, I only want to get tapped out 9 times. And then maybe next week, make it 8 times. And next week, go for 7 times. And eventually you're going to get to a point where no one's tapping you out. And maybe you're not getting any submissions, but you're going to leave thinking, yo, I'm basically invincible. No one got me. This is great. And then once you start submitting other people, which maybe you are at this point, but once that starts happening regularly, you're off to the races at that point, you know? Just keep going.
That's good. No, awesome. I love that too, because like, that's a good way to look at it is instead of trying to go on all offense and attack, like focus on that defense and focus on getting tapped out less. Cause yeah, I've been tapped out so many times, and I mean, I'm still expecting to get tapped out so many more. And I mean, it's all a perfect journey. Like in my opinion, like it's an amazing journey of just starting from that white belt and just, you know, challenging everyone inside the studio and everything. It's amazing. And I'm loving the energy in there too.
It's honestly a little demoralizing when you can throw 100% of everything you got at a guy and you just can't get him.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get you, but there's a guy, his defense game is so good at my school. He'll just turtle up and he'll just play defense the whole way, and you can't get a thing on him, and you're just like, oh, I can't get you. This is crazy. So yeah, you'll get there, man. It's all good.
That makes me wonder, besides the physical aspects of it, what do you think it's done for you mindset wise? What do you think it's led on to, you know, your daily life?
There are so many life lessons to be learned in jiu-jitsu, and I have a brand in the work right now. It's called Fight From Your Back, FFYB, and it's basically it's all based off jiu-jitsu. So as a wrestler, I was trained that if you're on your back, you're losing. But in jiu-jitsu, you can fight off your back. And what symbolism is that for life? You know what I mean? You could be down and out, and you could be backed into a corner. You could be on your back, whether it's with your business or your social media, your podcast, or whatever it is. If you learn to fight off your back, you can always make a return. You can always come back no matter how hard it is. So that's one life lesson I picked up from jiu-jitsu, being able to fight off your back. There are so many more. I mean, another one is starting a new venture. It's okay if you're not great at it. I mean, imagine you as a white belt in jiu-jitsu, like the beginning is supposed to be hard. The beginning, you're supposed to take L's. The beginning is supposed to be frustrating and make you feel like you can't do anymore. But that's just the beginning. The guys that keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it are the ones that become successful. And at the end of the day, a black belt is just a white belt that never gave up. Think about that.
That's good.
That's a good one. That's really good.
Yeah.
I feel this energy, that shows that it leads to so much more than what it is.
Yeah.
And
it's deep.
Wow. That's really good.
No, it really is. Like this passion, I hope people are feeling it right now, because this is like we're seeing passion right now. And this is awesome. Like this for real, like I watched one of your videos as well, and it's honestly inspired to keep pursuing jiu-jitsu in this way, because I'm like, wow, this guy's vegan too, and he's purple belt and jiu-jitsu. Like this is awesome. And like the way too that you bring the sport to light, like with your the different camera the camera angles and everything. And I just love that, because that just brings a new light to like this sport. That it's just awesome.
It's one of those things where I feel a lot of people they won't pursue certain things because they feel like, well, I'm never, like weightlifting, for example. I had a guy tell me, he's like, I'm never going to look like Arnold, so why am I going to weightlift? You know what I mean? And I told him, like, don't let what you aren't stop you from being what you could be. Jiu-jitsu is so beautiful because you don't have to be a world champion to be a badass, and you don't have to be a world champion to be able to show the beauty of jiu-jitsu. It's a beautiful art, and there's so much to learn from it. And you don't have to be an authority figure in the sport to bring it to life for other people. And that is really, how true is that for anything in life?
Yeah.
You don't have to be Joe Rogan to have a podcast. You guys are great. I love talking to you guys. I've had a lot of fun in the time we've had together, and I can tell you guys are going to take this far if you stick with it.
Well, we appreciate
white belt. You know what I'm saying? A white belt that becomes a black belt, and a black belt is just a white belt that never stopped. So
it's great. I love that example that you used about Arnold, because just before we were recording this, I was telling it, because he was starting it, he's talking to me about it, and I'm like, I just think I'm gonna get my ass kicked, bro. Like that's all I was telling him.
Yeah.
And then, when you say that, it really just shows, I guess, it really is just the beginning. You don't know what it could be or what it could become. And wow, that's really good.
Yes.
I've tried to change my perspective on things, because I used to be one of those guys that would say, what if it doesn't work out? What if I get hurt? What if I look stupid? But now I flipped it and say, well, what if I learn some really cool things? What if it turns into a profession for me where I can make money doing something I love? What if I help other people find their inspiration to do more? You know what I mean? It just changed the way I say things, and it changes my perception on everything.
No, that's some good stuff. And that, like you said, it can be applied to anything, outside jiu-jitsu, outside veganism. It's just a mindset change. It's a perspective change. And like, people's lives, literally, you can see it change the moment their mindset changes. Because I mean, that's where it all starts.
And I feel like this could lead me to thinking about you and the coaching side of things that you do. Could you describe your process behind coaching a client, and how you work with them to get the best results? Because I mean, I can clearly tell you're a guy that wants to truly help someone. So I want to see how this whole process is going when you're with a client.
Yeah, so basically what we do is we do a free consult, and what happens is we find out, because we don't do cookie cutter programs. Everybody's different, everybody's unique. So we got to find out, obviously, your height, your weight, your activity level, your gender, how many calories you think you're eating a day. What do you normally eat? How often are you working out, if at all? And once we have all that, I like to use what's called a total daily energy expenditure calculator. I pop in a bunch of your specific numbers, like your height, your weight, and all those other things I mentioned. And it's going to come up with a baseline for the calories that your maintenance calories for the day at your given weight. And whether your goal is to lose weight or whether your goal is to put on muscle, we make adjustments to the calories and the macros. And then from there, it's basically like, it's like a puzzle. You have a layout of calories and macros that this TDEE calculator gives you. And this is the hard part. This is where people want to hire a coach because they don't want to figure out all the foods that you got to put together, not only to fit these numbers, but to also make a tasty meal that you actually want to eat. So once that happens and we create the meal plan, we do, we do daily check-ins, morning and afternoon. We have the client send pictures and videos of the workouts they're doing to make sure they're doing them right. And it's really just an entire 360-degree experience, because not only are we going to support you with the information we're giving you, but we're also going to be there to support you mentally through motivation and through questions that you have, and really holding your hand through the whole step of the process to make sure you get from point A to point B. So it's pretty cool.
No, that's really good.
No, yeah, I'm loving that. And also, this seems like it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort, and of course, naturally, you want the best for these clients. So my question would be, how do you find that work-life balance in your life? Like, where do you, I guess, draw the line on certain things? When do you take a break and stuff like that? Like, you know?
That's a great question, because this is absolutely my weakness. If you guys ask me what my weakness was, it's this. So I would say that being organized is the biggest and best way to maintain that balance. However, I'm not extremely organized. And in fact, my wife is kind of like, she works as my manager a lot of times. She runs the schedule and she keeps me in track on everything I'm doing, because I also run a photography business. I do all kinds of different shoots for all different kinds of people, and I do the online coaching, and sometimes I do real estate too. So I have to stay on track. But if I want to find balance, like for example, we just went to New Jersey for my birthday and her birthday last week, and that could be considered part of finding balance, making sure you go on trips. You don't have to go on vacation for 2 weeks to take a vacation. You know, sometimes I'll go on a 1 day, 1 night camping trip with my dad, or my brother, because my brother likes to get outside. When we went to New Jersey, another way to find balance is I'm so strict on what I eat that sometimes it's nice to just let go. I obviously still eat vegan all the time, but when we were in New Jersey, we used happycow.com. Are you guys familiar?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, Happy Cow. So basically, for those that don't know, you just type in your zip code or the area you're in, and it's going to pull up all the vegan restaurants or restaurants to show that offer vegan options in your area. So it's pretty cool. And we went and ate food, and we had a good time, So I'm not great at this, but it's something I'm working on getting better at. I'm a white belt when it comes to finding balance, and I know that, and it's just something I'm working on now. But organization, feel free to have a little fun, loosen your grip on what you're eating when you're on vacation, and you don't need to take 2 weeks to take a vacation. You can have a one-nighter if you need.
Yeah.
So what are things you do to continue to stay on top of things in your role, like consistently?
So basically, again, it falls on organization. I think I've got a calendar that is jam-packed. I make appointments, and anytime there's any kind of a commitment, it goes into my calendar, because if it doesn't go in there, I'm going to lose track of stuff because I got so much going on. So I share a calendar with my wife. She knows what's going on. Obviously, for those people out there who aren't married or don't feel comfortable sharing a calendar with a friend or something, you can hire managers. You can go on Fiverr.com and you can find people for a lot less money than you probably realize who will help you stay on track. But getting a calendar and keeping things written down is going to be huge for that.
Yeah. And I guess to add to that as well, do you have any daily habits that you stick to? Like already?
Yeah, I do. So every morning I wake up, I immediately turn on a positive affirmation for success video. It's 12 minutes, and I just sit by myself and I let that play. I don't look at my phone, but I hear it, and it repeats. It says these positive affirmations, and then you repeat them back to yourself, and you have to feel them with emotion as if they're already happening or have already happened. And I found that that's been huge for me. From there, I have a liter of water, and then I go to my climber and I do 20 minutes of climbing cardio. And then from there, I will go to my breakfast area. I'll make up a gigantic smoothie. And at that point, I'll allow myself to start reading emails for the day. And once those are done, I like to go get my workout done. And then from there, I attack the work day. But that's my routine every day. And that that manifestation video, those positive affirmations have been huge for me. And ever since I've been doing that for, I couldn't even tell you how long, but when I introduced that into my life, you start to see some changes.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
I recommend that to anyone who's listening. You got to get onto some positive affirmations.
And I was about to ask you as well, what do you, let's see, like if someone's like seeking that kind of help, seeking that kind of advice, like why is this something they should do? Like what is it doing to them mentally or in a spiritual sense, do you think?
Well, I think that as far as positive affirmations go, you become a little more enlightened, I think, but you're also opening the door to more opportunities. And I think that it's kind of the same sense of like, maybe you never see a bright orange Jeep Cherokee or Jeep Wrangler on the road, but you go by a bright orange Jeep Wrangler. Now you see them everywhere. You know what I mean? Those positive affirmations make you more aware of the opportunities that the universe is giving you. It makes you open your eyes and you're more accepting to things coming your way because, you know, I used to be very shut off to this stuff and I was very shut off to new opportunities because I always wanted to do it my way. I always wanted to do it my way. And I was so stubborn in that. I want to learn my way. And I missed out on a lot of opportunities looking back. But now I'm more accepting of people's help and people's advice and systems that come my way that can make my life a little bit easier and programs that can help and, you know, different and new relationships that can open up other doors. And I think a lot of that comes from manifestation because not only are you a little more enlightened, but you're more aware of the opportunities coming your way.
Yes. Well, that's perfectly well put. And I feel like that someone out there really hit them. They were like, wait, this is exactly what I needed to hear. So no, I definitely do love how you worded that very perfectly. So, you know, I know that hit someone.
Yes. And not only that, but also with what's it called? When you mentioned your routine and your habits and stuff like that. And I'm kind of asking this for myself as well, just as advice for anyone though as well. But when someone falls off of a routine or their habits, what advice do you have them to get back on that? Or what do you think they should pursue?
Well, I think that it's important to realize why you fell off because not everything we pursue is meant for us, you know? And for example, if you're in a job, a lot of people work really, really hard to get a job and they may think it's their dream job and maybe they get into it 3 months later, they end up hating it, you know, and maybe they fall out of that routine of loving that job. I'm a firm believer that if it doesn't serve you and it doesn't provide you true happiness, it's okay to let it go. So if it's something that isn't serving you anymore and you've fallen off the routine because of it, like maybe it's going out for drinks on a Saturday night with some of your buddies, and you've fallen out of that routine, but you've got other things that you want to work on. You've got passion projects. You have things that you know, you have groups that you want to get together with. So it depends on what it is. Now, if it's something that truly brings you enjoyment and it's valuable, it brings you value to your life, like say it's jujitsu, you fall off. The best thing to do is the earlier you can recognize that, the better, you know? And I noticed that for myself, if I feel myself starting to become lazy with jujitsu, I try to catch it right away, because if I let it fester, that little ball of emotion can grow into this gigantic avalanche. And so I think the important thing is to be aware, be cognizant of those emotions, because the longer you let it fester, the worse it is. And if you attack it right away, you don't have to deal with it when, you know, you've given up on jujitsu for a month and now you feel like crap. You know what I mean? The sooner you address it, the better is the way I look at it.
No, that's a good way to put it too, because I guess in another perspective, it'd also be keeping that momentum alive. Like, because, you know, it's easier to keep that object moving when it's already moving, you know, whereas if you start to slow down or, you know, just kind of leave it alone, I mean, there it goes. And you don't even know why you quit in the first place. So like you said, it's addressing it firsthand.
It's all about that awareness. If you can have that self-awareness, that can take you to all new levels in and of itself.
Yes.
So I feel like that was extremely good advice. And I feel like if you were to turn back time to your 18-year-old self and you were to give that person advice, what would you be saying to them?
I would say, don't focus so much on partying, drinking, and chasing women, because that stuff is always there. Focus on chasing what's really important. Chase a business, chase a sport like jiu-jitsu, And I would also say start investing now, because the earlier the better, obviously. But yeah, focus on something that actually brings you long-term value, because partying and drinking and, you know, one night stands, that's all in the moment stuff. It's not going to provide you long-term value. You know, I don't regret anything that I did when I was younger, but a lot of those things that brought me enjoyment only brought me enjoyment for one night.
Yeah.
Look for things that bring you lifelong value.
Wow, that was really good.
And I have a question regarding that as well. When do you feel that when you truly start to question things, like what sparked this awareness or this awakening in your life?
Well, that's a good question. I think at some point you realize you only have one life. And then once you realize that, that's when you start living the way you should be living. I heard a guy on, I think it was TikTok, say we have two lives, and the second begins when we realize we only have one.
Yeah,
that's good stuff right there. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. No, yeah. And I feel like that's where awareness can truly start. Like if it were boiled down to one philosophy, is that we have this one life. Memento mori.
Yeah, no, we're heavy on, you know, the saying memento mori, which is basically a reminder that we are mortal humans. You know, so I guess live our life by exactly what we would want to do. And, you know, because knowing that this is a one-time thing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. And what other philosophies do you live by?
Oh man, I've got a few. I love small steps climb mountains.
Small steps.
You know, a lot of us, we get to the base of a mountain, maybe it's jujitsu, and you see black belts 10 years away, and you're like, I'm not even gonna. It's the same way with like medical students, you know, they get to the front door of college, and they're like, God, 8 years of college, maybe this isn't for me. You go in small steps climb mountains. I also like civilize the mind but make savage the body. A lot of that rings true for veganism for me, because I've civilized my mind where, you know, I've become aware of animal ethics and the environment, and even, you know, my self-health. But at the same time, I've grown to a point that, you know, 34 years of eating meat never took me to. So those are probably my two favorites.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And do you also what's it called, when in your spirit, in a spiritual sense, right, do you feel like this awakening, the spiritual awakening, do you feel like that's, I mean, obviously it's changed your life in a dramatic way, but do you feel like it can also, you can use this to change other people's lives as well in a spiritual sense?
You know, absolutely. I think that, you know, the whole reason I started the Instagram page to begin with was I wanted to show people that it can be done. You know, I never thought that I would acquire, you know, a certain amount of followers. That was never the goal. I just wanted to show people that, hey, I had a spine fusion surgery and I'm a regular bro and this is what I'm doing. But with that, I've done so much more, but I'm attracting people who are like me. I'm attracting bros, whether that's a female bro or a male bro. And you come in for the surface value stuff, but that surface value stuff hooks you. And then you get to experience the deeper meaning of everything. And that's when the game-changing stuff really happens, I think. And yeah, I mean, just alone having an Instagram page just helped me change others' lives, coaching, or whether it's setting an example or just really showing what I eat and what's possible from it. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and going back to what we were talking about earlier, it's also really good that you approach it in this way, because this is what I guess younger generations are really interested in as well. Like these are the topics of interest that are, you know, blowing up on TikTok or on Instagram and stuff like that. So when they see that surface level stuff, you're inspiring a whole new generation as well. And being a part of that, I bet must feel amazing.
Yeah, I just got goosebumps thinking about it, man. Yeah, it does feel crazy.
Yes.
No, that's so good. And I feel like when it comes to you being on Instagram, I know you tend to connect with a lot of fellow vegans. Like you said, you attract them. And I know you recently became a part of Jack the Vegans Academy. Could you tell us a little bit more about that, please?
Yeah, so the reason I decided, so I was doing meal plans and workout plans before that with the plant-based warrior system that I developed. However, I'm just a one-man show at this point, and I decided, you know, an opportunity arose. I've been manifesting a lot of different things into my life, and an opportunity presented itself. And you know, the Jack Vegan Academy, they have teams. It's not a one-man show like it was for me. You have teams of coaches and mentors and everything that you could really want. I mean, and it comes with so much more than I could ever offer by myself. So, you know, in the end game, you know, I'm here to help other people. It's like I tell people, I'm not here to get rich. I'm here to help people. If I make money in the process, then cool. But I want to help people. And I would do it if it didn't make me any money at all. And that's where you find your true passion. You know, you can do it without making any money. So yeah, the Jack Vegans Academy is an awesome chance for me to help more people. It's been an opportunity that came out of nowhere, but did it really come out of nowhere? I've been manifesting for so long now. So yeah, it's been a blessing. I'm super grateful to get started. We just had a business call today. We have another one for tomorrow, and we'll be off to the races. So I'm excited.
That's wow. Awesome. You know, in these moments, I like to say these moments are definitely divine. You know, this is the divine moment. This moment was coming your way, and now, you know, it finally arrived. And, you know, I'm so glad that now you get to connect with even more fellow vegans. And I know, you know, like you said, being part of one team can get a little difficult, being a one-man show, but now that you're part of a whole group, you got like people watching out for you, people helping you, and, you know, that way too you can just hit so many more people.
Yeah. And that shows authenticity as well, because like you said, he's not trying to just be the only one trying to handle everything. Like this is like an outreach right here. So this is a whole team effort.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes, sir. So I think we should go ahead and wrap this up. What do you think?
We'll wrap it up and hit you with just a couple rapid fire questions to end it off.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
These rapid fire questions were inspired by Jay Shetty, the man himself. But let's go ahead and get right into the first one. So the first one is, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Don't be so hard on yourself.
Ooh. What's the worst piece of advice you've ever received?
Just do it, maybe. I like the plan. I'm all for action taking, but maybe do a little homework.
Okay.
Oh, I like that.
And what's something that you know to be true, but that others might disagree with you on?
You can build muscle being vegan.
Let's go.
And what's something you wish you knew earlier?
I wish that I would have known about chasing passions when I was in my early 20s.
Let's go.
And if you could create one law that everyone in the world had to follow, what would that law be?
The law would be, you got to smile every hour that you're awake, on the hour.
Wow.
Oh, I love that one. I've never heard that one before. That's really good.
That one's a really good one. All righty. Well, that just about wrapped it up, man. This conversation was honestly like one of the most productive ones we've ever had. There's so much information in this one. There's so much that people can take away. We're going to have a hard time choosing some of the highlight clips for this one. Yes.
Thank you guys. So grateful to be a part of it.
No, we do appreciate you. And, you know, we do like to take the end bit to express gratitude and thank you as well for being here. Because I know someone is listening to this and they're motivated, they're inspired, they're wanting a change. So with that being said, where can they find you? Where can they connect with you?
Absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram at willbrooksofficial, all one word. You can find me on TikTok at will.brooks.official. You can find me on YouTube at willbrooksofficial. And I also have a Facebook business page. It's called Will Brooks Official. I'm not on that one too much, but if you ever want to get a hold of me, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube are the best ways to get in touch.
Awesome. And as usual, we'll have that link down below for y'all to go check him out. This has been amazing. Thanks again for being on here.
Yes, we do appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.